Hello and welcome back to the lab, or bench that has nothing on it. Today in the lab, no safety warning because we're not going to open anything up that's too dangerous today. I'm also going to be, well, date's important for today. So today is 10/10 of 2021 and Windows 11 came out 4 days ago, 5 days ago, something like that. So it's released to the general public out of beta testing, and I need to do some evaluation on CAD tools, things like that, a whole bunch of software I use for the lab, especially since I do integration with a lot of the equipment that's on the bench. I need to see how everything is going, or just if there's compatibility issues, things like that. I'm asking for trouble because the OS has only been out for 5 days, but it is what it is. We'll see how it goes. I've converted one of my workstations over to Windows 11 right now, and I'm in the process of rebuilding it, which is prompting what I need to do today. So today, some of my plans are, I saved this guy from the trash. It was being disposed of. This is a nice big Dell power server, or a big PowerEdge server. So it's got some neat features, redundant power supplies. It's got a RAID card in it, which is one of the reasons why this particular unit's interesting to me. I was planning on doing this a bit ago, where I would make a small file server for the lab. I have a larger file server back in the rack, but it takes a lot of watts to run that because it's 26 spindles, but it's capped out at 2 terabyte drives. So my storage per watt on that box is not the greatest. I can get a lot better efficiency if I up the drive size, but I can't do that because I run into backplane drive supporting issues. Because it's only a 32-bit controller, it will only support 2 terabyte drives. This guy has a 64-bit controller in it and will support higher than 2 terabyte drives. I would have done this before with some of the 300s and 310s, except they only support 4 terabyte or 4 physical drives, not 4 terabytes in the front. So a couple of things that makes this unit attractive is I've only got 500 watt power supplies, so that's fine. These are the power supplies in the server. They're 80% plus platinum, so they're very efficient power supplies, which is good because that'll cut down on my power bill. There's 2 of them. So we have redundant power supplies in here. The RAID card is here. We have a PERC H710. I did confirm that will at least drive 8 terabytes per single drive. This is the exhaust fan for the CPU. No other cards. I'm going to put a quad port NIC in here, and if I'm lucky, I'll be able to team 4, 6. That'll give me 6 gigs of bandwidth in and out of this box. So we're going to do some NIC teaming as well. And this particular box, its purpose is going to be my data warehouse for the lab. So YouTube videos, some light video editing, not a lot, very light video editing. What else are we going to ask this box to do? Oh, it's going to store all of my documents, schematics, CAD drawings, everything like that. This is going to be my data warehouse for the lab to get it out of the other box. I'll show you the front. This has 8 drives in the front. So with what I have sitting on the shelf, I can do 8x4, which will give me, I think when I did the math out, it was 32 terabytes in RAID 5. 8 by 4. No. minus 4, 28 terabytes. So what this is going to do is this is going to give me a 28 terabyte RAID array raw before, well, 32 terabytes raw, 28 terabytes after it's diced in RAID. Going to lose a little bit more when I format it to so I can talk to it, but so yeah, I have a DVD player. I have some DVD burners I'll throw in here, because especially working on this, really on the stuff that's on the bench, having disk imaging is useful for me. I'm constantly taking ISOs, dumping image files, working with floppy disk images, things like that, moving firmwares back and forth, all kinds of that stuff. So if that's interesting to anybody, let me know. I can do some more videos on that. I know that gets more into the IT and computing nerd side of things than the test gear side of things. So if that's something you guys want to see, the networking back end and things like that, just how to get this stuff all talking to each other, let me know. I do have some videos planned. I'm still working on getting the setup for doing everything GPIB that I can. The meters and stuff, the Keithleys, they'll talk Ethernet. They don't even need GPIB. They talk straight Ethernet, and a few other things. So I do want to do some long-term data logging, especially when I get into some battery testing, things like that. Gonna need to definitely gonna need the data logging, pushing data around to various places. This is where that data is going to sit. These are the physical hard drives. So what I need to do now is I need to get these drives in these frames. So the server shipped with 500 gig drives. That's a little small. These are 4 terabytes apiece. They're constellations, so they're enterprise class drives. The other thing to note about these, for setting one of these up, oh, that's, huh? Got 2 different size drives in it. Oh, these are 10Ks. Okay, that explains it. Oh, and the 10Ks are actually SAS too. Wow. So this is a SATA hard drive. So it's got the SATA port, and then it's got the power port. If the connection is straight across and it has this notch out here, we'll try to get this on camera. I don't know if it's going to focus. There's pins on the top and pins on the bottom. This is a SAS connector, serial attached SCSI. So this connector, SAS controllers are backwards compatible to SATA drives. So popping SATA drives in here, no problem whatsoever. Putting SAS drives in here, no problem whatsoever. SATA controllers cannot talk to SAS drives. They don't know how to do it. So all you can do is you could backdate SAS to SATA, but you can't go SATA to SAS. Yeah, these are only 500 gig. These are tiny. So what I will do to swap one of these out, it's just the 4 bolts. Those pop out, drive comes out, put the new one in, toss it in, and then they're swapped out. So I'll do that off camera because it's just taking screws out, things like that. So I'll get those swapped out, I'll look in here, see if I have some flash drives laying around. We'll use that for an OS drive, so we'll dedicate the entire RAID stack to data. We'll put an SSD OS drive in here, throw some NICs in here, and then this should make a nice low-power NAS box. Hopefully it doesn't hit the power bill too badly. But with 500 watt power supplies, it shouldn't. This should be low power. All right, so let me get this thing cracked open and we'll show you the insides. Okay, here's the inside of the server with the fan shroud removed. So the fan shroud sits right here pulls air through the drives over the heat sinks for the processors and in the fan out the back. These things are cheese graters, especially when they're spun up to full power. Do not get your fingers in one of these. It hurts. They will draw blood. These things got some get up and go to them. But we can see that Dell made a single and dual socket version of this board. Here's the memory slots for the second socket. Here's the CPU that's not even populated. This is the CPU's under here. This one's a Xeon. It's a slow Xeon. It's like a 2 point something, but I'm asking it to serve files for 2 people. It's not going to be too much. VREGs aren't even populated, so this whole system's missing. We do have a missing PCI Express slot up here. What else do we got going on in here? Northbridge. These are the SAS connectors. So each one of these, this is nearline SAS. Battery for the RAID card backup, RAID processor. This is the remote access controller, the enterprise controller. Intrusion detection sensor. This is the power distribution board for the dual power supplies. Those caps, yeah, they look okay. BIOS battery. Let's see what else we got going on. Not much going on in here yet. I have a 16x slot. I have a couple of 8x slots for add-in cards. One of these is going to get a quad port NIC. These do not work well for gaming. So anybody who thinks these are going to get a big, powerful server and use it for computer gaming, doesn't work. These are designed for number crunching. The CPUs don't have the clock speeds for gaming. You could squeeze a graphics card in here. However, it's hard to tie in the power, especially with this proprietary. Let me move the camera up. This proprietary power setup up here. There's no additional power cable. So we do have some nearline SAS here. I have another SATA port open, which is good. We'll use that for my OS drive. What else do we have open? Anything? I'd like a couple more SATA ports, but I may not get them. Rear I/O, we have 6 USB 2s, 2 gig NICs, VGA, and serial. Here's the network card for the DRAC. So this will be perfect. The I don't know why this is a thing yet. Even the very modern servers that we ordered last week, they don't come with it. They are not making servers with HDMI ports. So if you're going to use a server computer in an office situation where somebody's going to actually have to work on it, this is getting problematic with monitors, but I don't design them. I'd like to start seeing HDMI or DisplayPort on new generation servers, but what are you going to do? Also, hard drives weigh quite a bit, so when you get this thing fully populated with hard drives, it gets heavy fast. So just watch it when you go to move them around and lift them. Fan shroud just pops. Of course, I'm going to do this on camera and it's not going to want to go. Usually these things just fall right into place. Did the fan shift? No, that's still in there like it's supposed to. These 2 pins are supposed to line up with those 2 pins right there. So let me lay it on its side and I'll get the fan in. So if you lay the server on its side, it just falls in. Okay, here's one of those quad port NICs I was talking about. These are 4 I believe these are Intel cards usually. Yeah, this one's an Intel. Every generation, Dell seems to switch between Intel and Broadcom, so both are good cards. So we got 4 1 gig NICs plus the 2 that are on board. Hopefully I can team them all together. If I can team them all together, that means I'll have 6 gigs in and out of this server. Now I will chew up 6 network ports on the switch, but it is what it is. If I have to update the switch, I'll update the switch. Yeah, so I got... So that'll be 6 on here. So we'll throw him in. And then I'll get the array building. That could take a while. My old file server with the 26 spindles, it had a 3... I think it's on 3 gigs, 3 gig SAS. Took it 3 weeks to build the 40 gig array, so might take a while to build. We'll see. Large data sets just take time. All right, toss this card in here real quick. Actually, pop this out. And we will put him in like so. Oh, yeah, how much RAM's in here? Not that it needs... Oh god, that's actually heavy. Yep. It's full of drives. Stay. 2 sticks of 8, so 16 gigs of RAM. Plenty for what I'm asking it to do. So it won't need more. I'm going to turn all the power saving, power states on, sleep states, everything. Going to let this thing pretty much go to sleep when we're not using it, but we'll go from there. Okay. I will get this moved down to the floor, and I will bring in my test monitor, which is down off to the right. Fire it up. If we didn't, the lab cat is wandering around the box, so if we hear cat noises, she's just checking out the new computer. Pardon the mess. I am still cleaning up the lab to do a lab tour video that has been asked for, so that is in process as well. Got a couple of cool stuff that's going to be delivered next week that's going to be nice for the lab tour. All right, we have a T320. It's going to go through. We'll ask for the lifecycle controller to set up the remote access card and all that good stuff. So it's a 2.2 gigahertz processor, which is pretty slow, but I'm looking for low power on this one. But it is a 6-core, so it's got some beef to it. RAID controller starting. Found the network card. It's initializing devices. I don't see any red lights on the drives, so that's good. And it's pissed off, which is expected because we pulled all the drives out of it. So it's saying that all the disks are gone, so it wants to load the configuration utility. Since this is a new server setup, not a huge deal to just hop in there and do some damage. But if there's an existing data set on a RAID array going into the configuration utility, can't talk. That's where you can lose data. Definitely, if you're experimenting with RAID, make sure it's data you don't care about, or you get somebody that is very familiar with moving configurations and drive sets around, popping drives out, moving them to a different controller, replacing controllers. All this stuff gets kind of weird to not lose data. So backups are always good. RAID just helps prevent for hard drive failures. So we're going to hit C. We're going to hop in, and it's even warning me. It'll result in drive changes. Do I want to continue? Yep. In we go. And it says configurations are present, which it shouldn't be because, oh yeah, these were this was a large 14-set disk array, but I'm reusing the disk, so that's no big deal. So we want to go to configuration is present. So we're going to F2 for operations. Escape, F2. Are you sure you want to exit? Cancel. Escape, yes. Oops. It's going to make me reboot again. This data is not burned onto ICs. It's actually written to the drives. One of the ways you can get around this is to low-level format the drives, completely zero out all the sectors, and that'll fix this problem. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do an initialize on this array anyway, so it's not going to be too big a deal. We just got to hop back in. 2.9. I got to check that BIOS. That BIOS may be way out of date. Configuration to load. Yes, we want to make changes because we're setting up a new data set. So it's F2 for operations. It's a little cut off, but it's F2. And we want to clear the config. We can look at the config, clear the foreign config, import it. We just want to clear the config. And this even says we'll blow out all VDs. Yep, that's what we want to do. We want to clear the config. Yes. And now we have drives. So there we go. So F2, clear the config, yes. Adapter, oop. F2, clear the config, yes. There we go. All right, so now what we want to do is we want to go into the adapter. We're going to make this RAID 5, so we'll have one redundant disk. And we need to select all our disks. So I'm just hitting spacebar to select them. Oh yeah, there's two more. There we go. And it tells us we have a 26 terabyte, 26,000 gigs. We're going to make it a, call this files. Not going to mess with any of the advanced settings. We do have a battery, so we don't need to force write back with no battery. Some of these settings in here are, so write back is a speed setting. If you don't have that turned on, the drive is a lot slower because it has to commit the data to the disks instead of just committing it to the RAM and the RAID card. The problem with doing that is a power failure can cause data loss. So the way Windows writes to a disk is Windows says, shove this data to the disk pulls that data into RAM, then it tells Windows, yep, I wrote it, even though it's not committed to magnetic yet, it's still in volatile. If the power goes out, what's in volatile, Windows says, yep, I wrote it, or Windows gets a, yep, I wrote it from the drive, but it's not truly there yet, so that can cause data corruption. That's what the batteries are for on the RAID cards, is to bridge the gap. It keeps the memory alive and the data safe till the power comes back on and it can write it to disk. Because I'm going to put this on a UPS too, I'll get the performance out of it. I'll turn right back on. If it's truly critical, hyper critical data, turn right back off, put it on a UPS. Your write times into the disks are slow, but when Windows gets the, yes, I've written to a disk, it is truly on magnetic media at that point. It's committed. So, depends on the comfort level and the importance of the data. We are going to initialize this array, which is going to take some time. This is going to say it's recommended that all drives are initialized. It will let me format this drive while the initialization is running. So that's good, but I still need to put the SSD in here. But let's get the initialization running. Cancel. We do F2. That's it. There's my virtual disk. On the virtual disk itself, we F2 that to do the initialization, and we start initialization, and off it goes. Yes. And we should see a lot of drive activity on the front of the case, on the front of the server. Let me repoint the camera and show you what that looks like. And here's all the drives initializing. They're just going crazy. They will do that for quite some time. So I'm just going to leave it set up. I'll work on getting an operating system installed and configured. And we'll go from there. See what needs to happen. The nice thing about it, unlike a format, the initialization can start and stop. So I can shut the server down and it'll pick up and continue the initialization process when it boots back up again. A format will not do that. So if you're 99% formatted and you got a power failure, you lost all the time, you got to reformat the drive. Since this is a brand new setup of a very large array, I'm going to take the time. I'm going to let the array initialize, then I'm going to do a slow format. The slow format will tell Windows if there's any damaged sectors, things like that. That's just a data integrity piece. Makes me sleep better at night. But it does take some time. Like I said, the 40 terabyte array that I've got running right now, it was 3 weeks to initialize, and it was another 3 weeks to format. So the server was running for 6 weeks before I could even use it. So these big data sets and big arrays just take time. Yeah, I'm just going to let it chew, and I'll bring you guys back when something interesting happens. Might be a couple of days. All right, I haven't gotten into drivers yet because that's the boring stuff. But the initialization is still running, but the format finished. So if I go here, we go to this PC. Wrong one. Here's our 250 gig C drive. That's on an SSD. Found out this particular board only has 2 ports, so I can have 1 DVD and 1 SSD, which is fine, because this isn't going to be asked to do much. And then here's the file store. So I got to move this over to the big UPS, and then I can do everything else through the network. But that one is ready to go. Thanks for stopping by the lab, taking a look at some of the back-end work that I have to do to get some of this gear talking. The server's ready to go back into the rack. I got to get it on the UPS, and then everything should be good to go. If you guys want to see more of some of the back-end lab stuff, not just fixing the test gear, but doing some of the integration, things like that, getting the stuff talking to each other, let me know. I can definitely make more videos on those topics. I will see everyone in the comments section below and in the next video. Bye for now.